It's great to have everyone here. We love that our new members are here as well. Kathleen, were you able to get sworn in?
I did get sworn in,
Yeah.
thank you.
Great, okay, excellent.
But sworn in.
If she does, then we'll do both minutes, but I don't have to go through the roll call, because we're all here.
Wow.
I just want to go through the agenda, sorry. The agenda for tonight is, that we have to approve the minutes. We need to have a volunteer to be the secretary. We have a select board update from Karen Rose Gillis. Elder Human Services report and the trust fund update from Chris Polowski. Council on Aging annual update with Marilyn and Karen. Council on Aging annual conference, Chris Polowski will give us an update with there. With that, PVC update, that will be with Nancy. The introduction to the operation plan with ReCal for the Center for Active Living. That will be presented with Jenna Wood, Chris Polowski, John Santo, and Emily Sisson. So I guess we are waiting for John. I don't know if he's coming virtually. And then future agenda items and adjourn, that will be with me. One of the things that I do want to say right from the start is to talk about the very sad passing of Mike Holtman, who was an important member of the ReCal committee and an important member of the community. He was a volunteer in many endeavors throughout the town. He had an incredible presence, he and his wife both. And I did go to the celebration of life, and I was there as well, and maybe some others. There were so many people in attendance you didn't even know. They don't care, you were there. There were easily 300 to 350 people there. He had quite an impact on the community, and it was a very sad loss for our community. And I just wanted to acknowledge all of his work that he has done for credit. Sad, very sad. So moving from that, if I could have a vote to approve or a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Okay, Annie, thank you. Oh, wait, first we need to have somebody, actually I did have approved minutes first before I said, any discussion on minutes? Not in my employee, anything is, anything else?
A really big point.
A correction, yes.
Two, one's mine. There are many variations of marijuana here, MARIL, but.
So correcting spelling your name.
Yeah. Minor, but, I didn't distribute a COA mailer, I just did the business cards.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Any other corrections to the minutes? Seeing enough for discussion, all those in favor of approving the meeting minutes? All those opposed? Vote passes 8, however, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9, 0, 10. 10, 0. Wow. We are all here. Oh, you're associate. I am associate. Okay, that's okay.
Right,
Yeah, 9, 0.
I just didn't see the minutes.
Oh,
I didn't get them.
and you're an
So-
associate. Okay. All right. Now,
Can I ask a question about that?
absolutely.
So I noticed because not that these wouldn't have been online, but when I went online, I noticed that no meeting minutes from 25 are on there.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Well, isn't it to deal with it?
Oh, okay. Okay, just wondering.
Yeah.
And I do too.
Yeah.
Okay.
They dealt with that.
It's a team effort.
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you for coordinating us. So we do need a volunteer to take minutes for this evening. Oh, great. Awesome, so how do you, we need another chair. Why don't you go up on the corner right over there? Well, right here is the people must be. We need a volunteer to take the minutes this evening, otherwise I will be. We volunteers to take the minutes. But everybody ready to do it? Okay, well, John, John with the minutes in June, Karen took the minutes in July, Karen recorded the minutes in July. Looking at this and.
You don't want me to take any minutes.
I cannot. What do we do? Gee. No. So, all right, I need to appoint someone, and I have to say Nancy, Marilyn, and Jean have done a lot behind the scenes. So,
7 years of minutes.
yeah, and this is a problem.
I would be happy to, but I've never seen them, so I don't know what the format's supposed to be or anything, so I'm gonna need help after the fact
Okay.
in terms of what
Did
they're
you see the
supposed to
ones
look like.
recently that? In the
No,
packet?
no.
You didn't get the packet?
I didn't get the packet, so I didn't see the minutes, so I'm happy to take notes and then work with someone to turn them into minutes.
Pass those down to her.
Yeah.
She can.
Mhm.
Kathy, I very much appreciate your willingness to do this, especially as a great number.
Karen, did everyone else get the packet?
I did.
Were you on the group email?
Apparently not, Chris. I called and left a message today, but
We talked about that.
Yeah, and then I added-
On.
Alright, I'll double check after
it
the
was a
meeting.
mistake before.
And
It
maybe,
was a mistake when I was appointed, and I can only assume that whatever email you have is not the right email.
After the meeting, connect with me and I'll
Okay,
double check.
so we'll.
because I left a voicemail today.
I've been down at the front
Yeah,
desk
with the
today.
correct email, so, okay.
Chris.
All right, so Chris, you'll update, we'll make sure that you have Kathy's correct.
Yeah,
So that doesn't, we want to make sure that everybody does the packets ahead of time. That's been something that's been really important, we need to make sure the packets do go out. Usually Chris is able to get them out by Friday morning. And you try to get them all together as one document, which makes it much easier to deal with. So we'll thank you for letting us know. All right, yeah.
On the proper maintenance is happening. Are we going to be able to start getting the packets posted on the meetings then on the
Yeah,
calendar?
yeah,
As
it
well?
will be posted there,
Okay.
yeah. Chris, will you share that?
yeah.
Okay, and maybe it's there, I didn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't today,
No.
I guess that's where
We
I
haven't
get the agenda.
traditionally, but we have.
It's not for not asking.
Right, but we haven't been, yeah, okay. We haven't been adding I know I haven't added it since I've been appointed chair. We haven't been adding the packet, but we do want to ensure. Okay. Great, thank you. All right. Any other questions before we move on? Thank you. Karen Rose Gillis, select board update, please.
Hi, everybody. At our last meeting, we talked about some basic internal borrowing related to the Pillen and the recal projects, which confused some of us when we heard the language, but it really was just like a technical borrow from free cash, and then we'll pay ourselves back when we borrow the money to save us money in borrowing fees. So that kind of got us a little nervous for those of us who didn't understand what the account was doing, so. She had to borrow the money now because I guess things are starting to move forward on some of the projects. So they needed some money to pay for some things. We talked briefly about moving forward, not for an override, but trying to discuss ways to raise money in the town to try and offset some costs. So that we started that discussion. We didn't really finalize anything. We talked about putting on the fields, you know, sometimes you can have advertisements on fields, on the fences and things like that. They talked about it, and I think that we might do more of a sponsorship approach to that if you decide to do it. And it will take town vote and information like that, because that you can control types of ads that go up and make sure they're appropriate. So trying to discuss different things with Airbnb fees and kind of fees in that venue, trying to raise some of the fees. There's some wiggle room in raising the taxes for those from 4% to 6%. So they might look into that. We approved a liquor license for Anthony's Coal Fired Pizza. It took on new ownership, so nothing's going to change when we transfer the license. And then we also talked about forming a water and sewer commission to talk about water rates and, it's a very complicated issue and I had asked them to come up with a commission so that we could learn more about it as opposed to at the last minute when we're voting on it and have everybody much more informed about how we come up to the rates and why we don't raise rates unintentionally. There's a purpose behind it and there's a whole bunch of stuff behind the scenes that go into the rates. So that would be a really good commission to try and inform everybody how we come up with these figures. So we'll be getting that. Matt's going to do some work on that. There's also, whenever a resident sends an email to the select board, I, as the secretary, respond, but there's also some to-dos that go behind some of these emails. And so they're going to set up a tracking system that needs to be in place to try and ensure that people are being responded to when something has to take action on it. It's just an opinion email, then that's one thing, but sometimes someone's asking for somebody to do something. This is a good way to track to make sure the tasks are getting done. We're having a tour of Burbank Arena tomorrow to talk about Burbank and they, from what I understand, they usually give the town money and I think we'll have a discussion at our next meeting about that as far as the status of any profits and any money coming towards the town. I'm working with a resident from Tannerville of, creating this welcome packet for new residents specifically for Tannerville, but I'm looking at it as being for the town we're gearing it at Tannerville specifically aimed at residents that are brand new to the town that may come from far, far away and know absolutely nothing about the area. So he wants to put a map in it, which I think would be very helpful, and maps of the different shopping plazas, different things available. And we're going to have sections on phone numbers and transportation. And so I think it would be a really nice project for us to work on to tie for a lot of seniors in a lot of different places. So I talked to the library and they don't have anything. So I think this is going to be a really good project to try and get a lot of communication and information out there. I know that a lot of us that are online take a lot of things for granted, and there's a big population of people that I like to think if you're not on Facebook and you're not online and you don't have a phone, how are you going to find out about what's going on? So that's one of my initiatives moving forward to try and make sure we get everybody informed on things. That's my.
Great, thank you. It's nice to hear, this, the clerk would be thinking of creative ways of raising money.
Yeah.
I don't think that we've had that conversation with that.
Yeah, I think it can be, you know, you don't necessarily want to raise fees on everybody, but there's probably a lot of places, some fees we haven't raised since the 80s. So it's probably time that we raise. So I think also getting into a better practice of raising them not every 20 years, but maybe more regularly as things go up in cost, then it's probably time to raise some fees.
I was just wondering if we've had any news on our CTV.
I do not. It's supposed to come up in our liaison reports. So in our last meeting, all we got was that negotiations are going on. I had a conversation with some people that say that it's looking good, but I can't quote who it is and I have no idea what that means.
And when is the deadline? Then, isn't it 3 months?
It was 3 months, so good question. And I looked at some future agendas and I don't see it on any agendas, but I believe at our next meeting next week, I'm hoping that we'll get another update because they had a meeting the day or two after our last meeting. So they've had another meeting since our last meeting and we should get an update about that. But still, I don't know if I'll have any details about what the negotiations are, or what the contractual things are. So I wish I did.
Years ago, we had Welcome Wagon. I don't know what happened to that organization, but they did exactly what you're talking about, Welcome Wagon. People were greeted moving into the town, giving a basket, giving information about the town. As far as raising money, unfortunate that we lost Mr. Burbank. He helped out the town quite a bit. Is there a way that we could zero in and do mailings, repetitive mailings to people who may have wealth to share with the town? We could do that
It's not a bad idea.
to raise money.
Do we know any millionaires in town?
I don't know, might be one sitting here. And the other thing,
Oh,
the other thing is,
Yeah,
I don't
just
think we
point
took
to that.
attendance.
what?
Did we take attendance?
We don't need to you don't need to take it when it's in person.
When what?
When it's in person, when everybody's in person,
Oh, really?
because we're all here, right?
You can
Yeah,
So, yeah.
well, we always had to do it when somebody was online, but we don't, Jenna just pointed out that the town cannot solicit donation.
Why?
So I will not be suing you. But perhaps one of you would like to find somebody.
So why is it you can't do that?
Because
You get mail all the time, contribute here, contribute there.
This is the town. It's a law.
the town, it's.
Government.
Can we do it as an individual group?
From somebody?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah, we just can't send out mailers as the town to residents soliciting donations, but certainly if someone comes forward on their own to make a donation, we can accept that.
So if some random resident at a party went up to somebody and said, hey, you wanna donate? That's not on any committee or anything, that's acceptable?
Yes,
Okay.
It's not as a representative.
Not as
of it,
Okay. We're trying to find
So
a
we're
town.
doing a big
Yeah,
gathering.
tell us
And
what.
you said, I'm here as an individual, but did you know, you feel free to contribute $1 million to me?
And then I'll send it to the town. What you're saying, so. Yeah.
Try it.
Yeah, but that was really good. I mean, that's, the reality is, yeah, it's a violation.
We have the Friends group too, that is raising money, so they can take.
They can solicit
Money
donations
on
at a
behalf.
501c3 organization.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, but it would be used for what?
So,
65 plus it can be used for that, so.
all right,
Karen, I'm sorry, I know you said you don't need to shake attendance, but I don't actually know.
You don't know it, so let's do it.
It would be
Okay,
really helpful if you just went around and so I could get
absolutely.
names.
So we have Tom O'Connor. Thank
Okay.
you. So, yes, that's
Okay.
important. Jean Prado,
Yeah, Chris,
John Sadinsky,
yep, John, I know.
Ron Howell. And Carson. Karen Janowski. Erin Chaplin. You know Nancy.
Yeah.
Rose Marie.
Steve Benedict.
Yeah.
John Coco,
Joan.
Karen Knapp,
Oh, okay, here.
and then the non-COA members would be Karen Maskila,
Right.
Emily Sisson,
Hi, Kate.
Nora Bucko,
Yeah.
and then, Jenna and
Oh, yeah.
Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, and here's who could this.
Right on cue.
Yeah, home chair. I think this is my room.
Yeah, right next to me.
Yeah, this room.
Tomorrow.
You wanna move over?
Oh, okay. Over there.
It's our business.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
There's a big
Thank
room.
Now we'll get the Elder and Human Services report.
Yeah, we had a good July. You can take a look at the numbers. We were just under 3,000. Again, my goal is always to have 3,000 duplicated interactions per month. So it was a good month. We had a lot of good activities. As you can see on the second page, we had fiber arts with Amy Roble. We had a great Rockport van trip on the 8th. We had a great Independence Day luncheon on the 10th. We had a group trip with Royal Tours on the 17th down into Boston. Movie and Pizza was on the 25th. We had some wait lists, so Independence Day lunch was very popular, so we had 33 on the wait list. I hate having people on the wait list, but I'm glad we had a wait list. I mean, people were really interested in coming to the Independence Day luncheon. The Rockport trip, we had one. We just take our local van here. We can only hold 14 people, so I'm not allowed to put people on the roof anywhere else. So we stay at 14. We had an herbalist presentation. They had 10 on the wait list. We have earwax removal once a month. It's very popular. We had 2 on the wait list, and then we had lunches are getting a little bit bigger. So we had 2 on the wait list for lunch, but we had a really good June. Good start to the year. I'm really happy. A lot of good activities. July, sorry, July. We had a great month, so.
So Chris, was
yep.
our herbalist, 10 people on waiting list, was that in this room? Was it?
I believe I think it was upstairs in the lounge, just because of how things. No, was it down here? Was lunch, okay,
It was great.
yeah, it was down here, it was
Yeah.
lunch, was that the lunch and learn?
No,
No.
it was later in the day
I
for
think,
us late risers.
I think that Anna said that it was capped at that because they only had a certain amount of herbs to give to the participants or
Oh.
something like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't due to space constraints, it was due to
Supply
Yeah.
constraints, I guess.
it was something that the
Yeah.
presenter had.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, the pass out, she had pass outs for people who attend.
you,
I should know that, but we've had a lot of activities, so I get them, they blend in together, so my apologies.
I was just curious because if it was a space constraint for presentation, that. I think
Yeah.
that's the first time that would have been an issue, so thank you for the clarification.
Yep. So anyhow, good month in July, good start to the year, Alan?
The wait list for the ear removal probably is really much more than 2, just because of the scheduling problems. You get your ears, well, forget it, I'm confusing it with the toenail. Well, it's the same person does it. You're right.
It's the same person, John.
Is.
Marilyn, you have a question?
It's Marie that does both.
She's so awesome.
There's usually an explanation, I'm just thinking of the new people, usually there's an explanation of the number of incidents versus the number of unique people on your chart and we'll
It's
see.
in the upper right column. It's stated up.
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay.
So for new people, like on the top on culturals of 177/103, the 177 means if you go to 2 events, two cultural events and or social events, you count as 2. But after the slash means we need to do the people, so it's 103 individual people over the course of all those things. That's just.
And since you just this raises a point, if you would like, I was thinking more from you and maybe Tom, if you would like to read, I would like to read the one. If you're interested, to get some more information. Okay, if you were, and we can set it like.
Sure.
Outside of this.
And if anyone has any questions on the report or anything, numbers, please feel free to give a call or come in, happy to talk. I know Ron came in a couple weeks ago, which was awesome. We spoke for, I think, about an hour and
Very good meeting.
then I wouldn't stop talking, so you're in a way. So if you have any questions, please don't, feel free to reach out. Trust fund report. We haven't, other than patrons, fund, we really haven't been, touching the, trust funds to let them grow. So you can take a look at that. Again, same thing. If you have any questions on that, please feel free to reach out to Jenna or myself on that. My goal over the past couple of years since we had ARPA is to try to limit how much we touch those, which we've done, just so we can grow that. So when ARPA runs out, we have a little bit more in our trust funds. So just trying to be.
Is ARPA running out?
But by soon, it all has to be used up by the end of 2026, but it'll be all used up before then. Everything's earmarked on that.
Great.
But just being responsible, with our trust funds, just to let them grow in the meantime, which is nice. So if you have any questions, please.
Oh.
A question on the trust fund. So there's 4 funds altogether. 3 of those are under the direction of Council on Aging and the other one is not.
Yes, so if that you'll see, Marilyn and I talked about, we were updating the manual, and this is one of the issues that came up with the trust fund. And so we were thinking that the Avis E. Schroeder, we don't even need to continue to update because it's not under our purview. It's under,
EHS.
yeah, it's under EHS, so you don't even need to include that. And so, a nice segue, if we can look at, we updated this information August 13th. Just to give you, especially the new people, a better understanding of how the trust funds work and how they were originally designed. And, what the criteria are. So there's, that information, and John generously donated one of the trust funds. In memory of his most of his life. So, there's the information that the summary of key points around the trust funds. So that document was included in the particular. Did somebody, Rosemary, did you have a question? Somebody had a question? Oh, yes.
Is it fiscal year 26 or no, the year 26? So,
Calendar.
Great.
Well, are you back at the ARPA funds?
yes.
Don't you think we should start putting some notices in the pleasantries to let the people know
We're-
eventually that?
That was going to be one of my questions.
Jen and I have been talking about this and we're working on it. We are just working on some details before we,
Especially the launch. Because
Yeah.
everybody's used to that, but nothing.
yeah. But we've been talking about it. We'll start, soon.
That'll be
pushing
an
some-
agenda topic
Yeah,
coming up once.
Yep.
We'll be discussing that this week. Yeah, Jean.
Well, that's what I was gonna bring up, but I know we spoke about it before. Is there any way we could start this sooner than later? Cause you said it might run out like the middle of 2026. Can we start as a gradual process, maybe just do one function that you're gonna be charged? So
Wait.
they're gradually into this going forward because.
So-
Great idea.
so yes, that is our plan. We just, what we're trying to do though is we're trying to get the payment system, worked out. We can't put the cart before the horse. We've never had the payment system before, so we're getting that set first so we can roll this out. Cause it's gonna be a little bit different than how it used to be before. So we just have to get, the payment system, make sure it's set, and how we're taking payments.
What's
That's,
the projection of that for when?
Yeah, and just to add to what Chris is saying, he's spot on, but, the other thing is we don't need to rush into taking payments either because we have our regular, budget that we can pull from in the meantime, which we have done for several of the programs throughout the years really, and, with our supplies. So we really need to make sure that whatever payment system that we're using and running makes sense. So right now, for instance, since all of time, the center has never collected a credit card, has never collected, like, the cash was coming in and going straight to the vendor. So there's no like behind the scenes system supporting this place, so it's a lot of conversations with finance, with Linda at the front desk, because someone's gonna have to do a bill roll and put things into Munis and export a spreadsheet, and also as a team, which kind of segues good into our operations conversation, is are we going to a new system? So does it make sense to go into a new system before we start collecting the payments, or are we gonna stay with two systems and then we roll it out with our existing system? So there's some conversations going on in the background that we need to figure out before we roll something out, and we just wanna be cognizant of, okay, if we roll something out, we want it to stay the same if we can, instead of changing it again in 6 months.
And I agree
When-
with that,
when
and
you
I
see-
think that's very important, but for many within the groups that come here, I think even before the system is approved and in process, we need to introduce it gradually to let them know whether you have informational sessions or something, that this is what we're trying to work on
Yeah.
for our future.
Yeah, we could do a little
functions.
like
Yep.
summary in the pleasantries
Yeah.
or something.
yeah,
When
Is
we
this gonna be
used- when we
for
used to take-
non-resident residents first, or is it gonna be for everyone?
Reading residents always have priority, especially with like the busier programs, but that'll be up to Chris and his team.
So we're talking about charging a fee for any program that has an instructor that costs the
Yeah, and
setup.
it'll be a program that's running out of ARPA, so a lot of the programs that are more popular and the vendors might be a little bit more expensive, those funds are running out quicker than others.
Yes.
So there's probably only gonna be like 3 or 4 programs at first that we'd start charging for, but again, Chris has his regular budget that he can pull from for now. Until we start charging people, because again, we just wanna do it right.
And when I'm trying to, I'm trying,
When we used to get money for the lunches, how did we handle it then?
well, that was, so
Valley.
keep in mind, that was Mystic Valley Elder Services lunches, so Mystic Valley handled the lunches back then. And we've switched how we do lunches right now, so,
So the money went right to
Yeah,
Mr.
much better now.
yeah.
Didn't they collect it by cash, John? I was,
They did, that was
I thought so.
MDES's policy.
I thought so.
Several of the members sitting here have visited many other centers. What are the other centers doing to collect money?
It's I called about 30 or 40 centers the other week. And I'm kind of taking a look at all that. There's variations. Some do series, some do per class. Some take different types of payments, some take, cash, credit, check, some just take check and credit. So there's variation. So we're working on that right now.
Keep in mind,
Yep,
the age of our population,
We're-
and myself included, I'm not computer knowledge and technical knowledge, so I would give you a check before you tell me go do whatever you just mentioned. It means
Yep.
nothing to me.
Yeah.
Absolutely nothing.
yeah. We're trying to make this simple because we know our population. Like Jenna said, what we don't want to do is roll something out and then find out in a couple months, hey, we're gonna switch to a different system. So we're not, we're doing it right, so we don't have that many transitions. The more transitions, the harder it's going to be. So we're gonna try to do one transition, get everyone on the page, learn the system and move forward.
Okay, so we'll put this on an agenda item in the
Yep.
future, because it isn't on tonight,
Yep.
but I think this is a really good conversation.
It's great.
for us to have this much, so we'll look at it when it sounds like you're doing a lot of research. Great. Okay. COA manual update, this is the manual, the blue book that used to be given out to new members. I know I never got it, but
Yes, it's
so
not fun.
it's being updated. Marilyn is working really hard, and it was before Nancy and Dean, and we met last week about it.
This was my copy.
So one of the things that is not that we need to consider is what needs to go to the website, what can be additional to informational, and what should just be linked online so that COA members can access it. Or it can be a paper copy because not everyone does use digital copies. So but Marilyn, you're working really hard on it. It's really,
What I did, I scanned everything because I've had this thing for 11 years now. I kind of knew what this thing wasn't overwhelmed, but quickly learned that to the uninitiated, being hit with 26 PDF files in no particular. Because this isn't all that logical how it's ordered, they're just kind of all in there somewhere, was not a very effective way of communicating. So there are 26 documents. I made an annotated table of contents to help us all understand the scope and keep it manageable enough. Plus, there's some work that Nancy had done on creating a mini version already, which is great, and there's some other new things I found that I think ought to also go in. So it's a list basically, and we had a couple of meetings, we couldn't sync up the times for us, between us all, we could talk about it. I think a really shrunk down version can come with, what was in here was a lot of, it goes back to Jane Burns, and she put in examples of almost everything imaginable. PowerPoints, there are minutes from meetings, there are samples of everything. There's a script if you're the new chair. Hello, I'd like to adjourn the meeting. I mean, it's got a lot that probably doesn't need to be in it. And it's got statistics and stuff that now Chris presents here, so it doesn't have to be in there. It's got things like who are the current members and who are the current staff members. Well, that's all online now. So we're trying to get those things off to where they belong, and anything that will automatically get updated will save the burden of trying to keep this thing up to date. Anyway, we're making great headway, with finding some documents that we realize we don't have quite the right one, and having kind of yearly conversations about where are the right pieces for these things to be. So we're hoping by maybe next meeting we'll have, and the theory is probably take Nancy's nice little short one, which a few of you probably saw, it was in the packet, but 5 minutes ago. I think it went in the packet for everybody to see.
I'm trying to think who, oh, I think it was Richard and, the fellow who never came to any meetings, or he came to one.
Anyway, so
Line-
some of you,
line them.
some of you have seen it, but you'll be thrilled. It's this 26 document monster. And Nancy has the links to everything you could ever want to link to, and probably a lot you want. But you should. And so anyway, that's what we're doing.
Can I ask something? Would we be able to go, we just finished the manual piece, is that correct? I know, John has to watch his time tonight. Would we be able to go out of order and jump to the 7:15 introduction to operations plan? And then come back and hit the last?
Well, I think we're done with manual update.
Okay.
The COA annual conference is gonna be quick.
Yep.
And Nancy, EPC update, do you wanna hold off on that, or do you think it'll be done by 7:15? 7:07.
Yes.
Was that okay, John? That gives you, what time do you need to leave?
8:00.
We
We all want it. That's what I'm saying, we all want
So
it.
apologies for interrupting, I just want to be cautious of.
So the
Thanks, Chris.
Once he says,
then, you know what, we always end up going longer. Yes, we can, I forget, how does it go when I go out of order? I can just make that determination, I forget, just do it. Yeah, okay, yes, all right, well, if everyone's okay, we'll just start at the introduction to the operating plan for recap. So that, the presentation is in the packet, which is really great, I hope everybody had a chance to look at it. Let's go to the speaking in minutes, the meeting will also be transcribed using the so, yeah. That's maybe for this very purpose, yeah.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight, full house. I'm Jenna Wood, I'm the Community Services Director. I know that we talked a little bit about the operations plan in the last meeting. And staff has been working really hard behind the scenes to pull something together, a little intro to give to the Council on Aging, as well as the Recreation Committee. We have several different ways that we're gonna approach this, that we're gonna go through tonight. So we're really excited to go over this with all of you. Here's a quick presentation overview. So we're gonna go over responsibilities and stakeholders, the vision, mission statements, and the guiding principles. The overarching theme of ReCal, what's gonna be in there, who's gonna be in there, what are they gonna be participating in? We're gonna go over the operational plan outline draft and then the timeline and the next steps. Next slide, please. So the town staff, again, this is a really huge lift on the internal staff, and the internal staff is the one that is going to be creating the operations of the building. So here's the team that's working on that. It's the town manager, the assistant town manager. Jane would have loved to have been here. She's at the Killen Building School Committee, so she wanted to let you all know that. Myself, Chris, Jim Sullivan, and Will Valier. Obviously, Chris is the Elder and Human Services Administrator. Jim Sullivan is our Recreation Administrator. Will is our Veteran Services Officer. So our stakeholders are all of you, the Council on Aging, the Recreation Committee, the Select Board, the town meeting, and the citizens in general. So we hope to, over the course of the next several months, get input from the community as a whole, from Friends of 60 Plus, some other stakeholders that you guys identify or the Recreation Committee identifies, because we really want this to be a collective effort. And the additional team support is Ballard and King, which is our operational consultant that we've been working with. And we have John Sasso, who used to be on RECAL and a town meeting member. And he's been instrumental in getting this project passed and doing all of the legwork on RECAL with the rest of that committee. And he actually volunteered, right after town meeting, I would say, reached out to Jane and said that he'd be interested in helping behind the scenes with staff on this plan, which was really great. And we reached out to Emily because we thought that we needed a recreation representative as well. And Emily had been on the recreation committee for several years. I don't know how many exactly, there's a lot, 10, yeah, for 10 years. And now she's a member of FinCom. So having that knowledge of the financial and ins and outs of the town, we thought would also be beneficial as we go into projected revenues of the building and projected utilities of the building and all of our operational costs. Next slide, Chris. Oh, and now I'm gonna hand it off to Chris.
Thank you, Jenna. Should I stand up?
You don't have to.
Okay.
Maybe still awkward. Sitting and presenting, so.
Earlier this year, I know we, as you can see, the RECAL vision statement, I know Nancy Zimlack and Marilyn Shapley, and I know Jenna, myself, we were included, Jane helped. But as you can see here, we developed the RECAL vision statement. The Reading Center for Active Living, RECAL, will be a community asset designed to support the mission statements of Elder and Human Services, Recreation, and Veterans divisions. RECAL seeks to foster health and wellness by promoting social interaction, strengthening the community, and providing a point of access to programs and services for all ages. With that, the mission statement that we had worked on, the town of Reading created multiple guiding principles for the Center for Active Living in order to provide an inclusive, welcoming, and supportive space that meets the interests and needs of the growing 60-plus population. The Reading Center for Active Living embraces a dynamic approach promoting growth and healthy aging by enhancing the social, cognitive, and physical lives of our senior population. RECAL will also provide additional indoor recreational space for all age groups. So that's our vision and mission statement that we had worked on with Nancy and Marilyn.
That's the question.
Yep.
In strengthen the community.
Hold. Should we hold?
Yeah, let's hold all the questions till the end.
Hold that thought.
And then, yeah, we can elaborate.
Yeah.
For sure.
We'll hold questions there. Then RECAL guiding principles. RECAL will be age-friendly and welcoming to everyone. The design will include a senior hub with designated spaces to support the full range of programs and services to meet the growing needs of Reading's age 60-plus residents, offering full day, weekend, and evening hours. RECAL will include designated space for recreation and veterans offices and shared space to provide recreational and or community building opportunities for all ages. The center will ensure safety and accessibility both inside and outside the facility through thoughtful design and operation. The center will promote social equality and maximize access to programs and services to all members of the community. The facility will be environmentally conscious, strive to be carbon neutral, and will leave a legacy of responsible design and operation. All right, next slide. We're going to hold questions until the end.
Those that I can't believe, I am Emily. Thanks for the intro, Jenna. Those that don't know me, like Jenna said, I served on recreation for a decade, and a lot of you have seen me at elections, I'm sure. And now I've been on FinCom, this is my 4th year, so just kind of bringing that hat to it, so. But what I'm gonna talk about is, kind of the vision for what will this space be and how will it be utilized by our 60-plus population. So we have a couple of different categories here. So as Chris mentioned, there's gonna be a dedicated space for seniors, the senior hub
There'll be a lot of similar but better space to here, where you'll have a lounge and TV, a cafe area, a card or game room, a fitness area, and then some programming space where, you know, the programs that Elder Human Services brings in can kind of have their space to do, you know, the herbologist or the earwax people or the toenail people that we already talked about. And there'll be an outdoor patio and you know, any other space that's in there. So the senior hub space, that will be priority for 60+. And other spaces, 60+ will be given priority in programming to other recreational programming. So some of the activities, you know, the events, the lectures, the arts and crafts classes that we've done, sports, games, the trips will be kind of run out of there the way they are here. They'll be we're intending to offer exercise classes, nutrition workshops, wellness screening, and then mental health support. And then other services, you know, similar to what you experience now, just in different space with tax preparation, the lunches, transportation, case management kind of thing. So the focus of ReCal is really on our 60+ population and their needs. But there's also, you know, the community building that we want to do. So let's go to the next slide. Just kind of the community access. So these are the spaces in there that we envision being in all ages, you know, 60+, but also our, you know, teens, young adults, and people kind of in the middle like me. So there'll be the indoor track, there's the fitness equipment room, there'll be recreation programs run out of there. There's an intent to bring on some more therapeutic recreation programs. I know we don't have so many of those now, but there's a really strong interest in that from the rec department and rec committee. Then there'll be another outdoor patio. There's one above, one below. So the one below will be priority for 60+ and the whole community for the one above. And then, you know, also looking to use the space for some kind of bigger picture, you know, people can rent it for events, community events, and then gosh, God forbid, knock on wood, an emergency shelter, or if something is going on with the field house and we maybe need voting space, that gym area could be used as an alternative voting location. So that's kind of what we're envisioning for the use of this building. Priority for the seniors, dedicated space for the seniors, and then some other areas for, you know, the whole community to enjoy together. Awesome. Leave the hard stuff to John.
So again, thank you for coming this evening, and just for those that don't know me, my name is John Sasso. I've been involved with the ReCal project for the last 2.5, 3 years, and maybe Laura, I can't really remember, to be honest with you. So interesting, as Chris was going through the mission, the vision, the guiding principles, I think everybody was probably sitting here and saying, this is great, but how does that translate into what we really are going to see in this building? And that's what this is about. This is about coming up with a plan to articulate to everybody, well, what is this building really going to mean to us, and how are we going to translate these, I hate to use the word amorphous, but these kind of high level conceptual views into like the day-to-day. And that's what this is about. And so as Jenna mentioned, after ReCal was formally approved, I actually reached out to Jane and suggested that there needs to be a focus on coming up with this plan. And not just to do it in a vacuum either, but to be able to present the different pieces and and solicit input from, as I call it, the key stakeholders, COA certainly being one of them. I certainly hope the experience I've had bringing ReCal to the forefront will help me in thinking about all of this, which we'll talk about in a bit. But I want to say this is a first cut list. I'm not sure if this is a complete list. We're certainly going to sit here and go through these in gory detail, and our approach would be to then go through and present, you know, okay, here's what we think this particular policy or procedure should be. And here are some questions that we have that we'll be soliciting input on. And then the answer is to translate this into the operational plan. The most important thing I want to leave you with is whatever plan we end up with, however long it takes between now and the building gets built, will change. It will change on perhaps day 1, day 2, but as soon as we get into, things will change. So I think it's really important to keep that in mind. And with that, can you just go to the next slide? So what are the things that we are actually trying to keep in mind as we go through this? We really do want to make sure it's clear that 60 plus is the priority. And I can tell you from the experience I had in the development of ReCal, that was our priority. That was our primary objective, was to meet the needs of the seniors. And we spent a lot of time, for those of you that know, really investigating what those are and articulating the top 8 things, if you will. And we think we've captured most of that in what this ReCal center will be. There are going to be competing needs. Sorry, there will be. I can't answer that. But we're going to have to figure out when those come up how we mitigate those, which ones go where. And my perspective is that we're going to end up with a process. You know, some sort of okay, maybe there's a planning meeting or some sort of process where we go through on a regular basis and recommend that that is a thing that gets done on a regular basis. So who knows? I mean, I don't know if that's going to be the answer, but we are going to have to consider that as part of this plan. We have to get input from folks. I think I watched the meeting the last time, and I just want to make it clear, there, at least in my perspective, there was never intent to not get input. That doesn't make sense from the perspective of the town or the community. So clearly, we will continue to get input, and as Jenna said, we're going to present this to Recreation. We've had conversations with some of the select board members. I don't know where else we'll present this, but certainly these meetings will help us establish some of those priorities and details. As I said, adapting to changes in policies and plans when the center opened, it's just going to happen. Sorry, guys, it will change. One of the things is, what is the future going to hold? We don't know. Whether it's staff or future programs, or how the building is used and what that really means in terms of the details, we have to keep that in mind as part of our planning perspective. So, I envision this approach as kind of a stepwise process. It's not all going to get done in one bite. I ascribe to the elephant theory. How do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? I mean, you saw the last slide. There's like 25 different topics on there. It's going to take a while to work through them. We'll come up with some sort of a cadence and try to figure out what makes sense and what the priorities are. But again, these are some of the things that we'll consider. You guys are going to give us other things. Hey, did you think about this? What about that? We need that, because it really does. It may seem a bit esoteric, but those are the things that help us when we keep them in the back of our minds as we develop this and say, oh yeah, that's right. What about this? Every time we go through a policy or a procedure, that's something that's important to recall. Jenna, you want to bring us?
Sure, I guess I'll stay sitting since everyone is sitting. So here again is a really rough timeline of what we see as a team moving forward. Some of these things could change based on us internally and how much we're accomplishing within that particular area of the operational plan. But we thought as a team that this was a fair timeline of what we can present within the next 6 to 7 months. So we're going to present the draft policies in October. The reason that we're not going to do that in September is because REC doesn't meet again until September 15th. So we want to give this same presentation to REC before we start rolling out policies. We don't want to be like a meeting ahead. But certainly what we can do is, as soon as we complete draft policies internally, or we also have our existing policies, we can send those out in advance so you guys can start looking at them and seeing what the existing policies are. And once we complete the draft new policies, we can also send those out in advance as well. So we want to present those policies in participation forms and all of that good stuff in October. In November, we would love to present a sample programming strategy and schedule, which will kind of give you a really high level view of how the building will operate. It'll give you the programming policy and all of the different things that we hope to bring into the center. Then we'll have an open discussion in December if you guys meet. Some committees don't meet. REC, I think, takes December off. I don't know if you all meet in December, so I kept it kind of open-ended. I thought that was a good thing to kind of regroup if you do meet and have just some general conversation. In January of 2026, we would love to present the projected operational costs. for our future staff and our utilities, as well as all the projected revenue that we hope to bring into the building. And in February, we want to go over our transportation model and possible future needs at the center. There's also some grant training coming up for a possible grant for transportation that some of the team's gonna be going to. So that's exciting as well. So we'll have some more information coming in on that. And then we would love to review the potential public presentation with the Council on Aging and Recreation committees before we give a community presentation to everyone as a whole, and then an update to the select board in the springtime. Obviously, there's so many other things on the operational plan. So safety and security, you saw on one of those operational items, and Jane met with the police last week with one of the architects about safety and security. So there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes with different people. So we'll certainly update you all on those things, but we think that the items up there are things that you would have a wide range of knowledge on already, and you could really help us develop those certain things. So these are some of the things that we're gonna bring in to the next meeting: the rental rules and regulations, a program participation policy, which will include the center's already existing standards of independence and all of the liability waivers and things like that. We'll have the fitness equipment room participation policy. That's actually extremely detailed. Thankfully, Sandwich has a great existing policy that they rolled out a couple of years ago that they're very successful with. So we're modeling our draft policy off of Sandwich currently, but obviously we're open to suggestions and things like that. And then there'll probably be some others in addition to these as well. And then I think we're ready for questions unless the team has any other. You're gonna go first.
No, why not? Can someone explain to me how all of this correlates to what the permanent building committee is doing? Because the permanent building committee seems to have a lot of power in all of this, and I don't understand how it all meshes together.
Yeah, so the permanent building committee is more of how the building is being built. That's their professional architects, they're professionals in sustainability, design, construction. The knowledge on that committee, engineering, the knowledge on that committee is just so expansive, but in a different way. So the operational plan is more internal workings of the building, how it's gonna operate day to day, how our programs are gonna run, how we're gonna rent the space. So permanent building committee will see operational plans, and we're gonna give them updates at every meeting on the operational plan, but they're not gonna be as, entrenched as as Council on Aging, Rec Committee, and the
So-
stakeholders.
So they couldn't dictate that they wanted something like a wood shop,
No,
okay? But
they could probably give an opinion, but they don't have I don't think they have a vote on something like that.
Nancy? Yeah, I was just gonna say that, the, permanent building committee is required by law when a town or municipality or a city is building a municipal building, when it's over a certain dollar limit, and I forget what it is. It has to be overseen by the permanent building committee. And the permanent building committee has to hire an OPM, I always forget what OPM is. Owner's project manager. And right now, that's TT&H, Tierney.
Turner and Townsend here.
Yeah, and then, an architect is usually hired after that, but Recal hired the architect first, and they started the feasibility design, which in my mind, I think that worked out perfectly because that's kind of where our interest lay. So, it's a legal requirement. It has to be done. The school committee has an unbelievably well-oiled machine when schools are built in a local town or city. In fact, my recommendation would be any move going forward, I would just use the schools process because that was just incredible to watch that process. So, you know, I'm just saying.
Other questions? It's not so much a question as a suggestion that the expenditure makes perfect sense, but I see it as one side of the coin. We're focusing and total transparency, I come from training and instruction design. The way they train you is, as a teacher, the way they used to do it was you learn the teacher does this, then they do this, and they do this if you had a lesson plan. And where it is these days is, this is what the student will experience at each step. At this stage, the students get welcomed. This stage, students are gonna master this. At this stage, the students are gonna do that. And the focus is on the student experience. I'm not hearing the participant experience yet. It doesn't mean this is bad. This is one side of the coin, very important. But I'm not seeing a mechanism for us to capture, and it's not that we don't do it now. We're gonna have a much bigger building. We're gonna have much greater capability in what we can do to support the town. And that's like wow, what can we be doing? Well, that in my mind translates into, okay, I'm 73 and I'm gonna go to this wonderful new center. And after a day, a month, a year, whatever, my life is gonna be stronger, better off, more engaged, whatever word you wanna use. As a
Less
result,
lonely,
pardon me?
less lonely.
Less lonely, less isolated as a result of participating here. And I think, again, there's nothing wrong with what we're doing. You're doing a great job. You're in this little teeny building. There's only so much you can do. We're gonna be in a big building with much greater capacity. And I think that we need right now to be starting to think about, okay, what are the ways in which we're going to further enrich people's lives in this community that makes it worth $28 million to them? I think there's lots, but I don't see a group that's focusing on answering that question. Yes.
Can I just make a comment to that?
Sure.
So this help, by the way, might help John answer John's questions. So the plan, think of the plan as like you build a car and then you have an operator's manual. So this is the operator's manual. What you're talking about, Marilyn, in my mind is kind of like, well, conceptually, what are the objectives and goals that you want to put together for the center? And then how are you going to meet those? The operational plan isn't going to tell you that. The operational plan really is laying out the structure of how things are going to work in the building to some extent, right? As Jenna was talking about safety and security, how you're going to establish programming, what sort of uses of the building there are going to be, what's the rental policy, how do you use the truck? That's all kind of like, I hate to use the word formulaic, but they're the nuts and bolts of how the center is going to work. The objectives that you guys want to meet from the perspective of the community and enhancing people's lives, that's a different track in my mind. I mean, others could disagree, but I think that's something where you need to say, hey, we want to improve, you just mentioned like the enrichment of a particular person. Okay, well, how do we do that? What are the activities that we want? And then those activities become inputs into, okay, we now want to plan these in and work them through. But that's that's different in some respects to what we're talking about from an operational plan.
It is different. It's the flip side of the coin, but they are connected.
I don't disagree that they're not connected, but I'm just saying they are different. And I don't envision us in that regard.
But someone needs to, and maybe it's council on aging, maybe it's a big group, someone needs to be saying, what's the value add to the people? The value add isn't, oh, you're gonna do, yes, we know that's key to getting the value add, but it's not value add. And a good example for operations is my old favorite. We keep hearing there are people who want evening programming for seniors. Well, that affects operations. Policy, space allocation, the whole thing. But there's lots of others as well. Do we want to go to a daily lunch? Well, that affects the multi-purpose room. So I don't think that they should be separate. I think they should be going in tandem.
And I think you'll get some clarity when we present on the programming strategy and sample schedule, because that will show you all the things that staff hopes to add, like those additional lunches, like those nighttime programs. So having, you know, a bereavement group, we have it once a month, right? Once a month in the mornings or afternoons, but having it in the evening too for people who work, because people have suffer losses and they still work and they can't come during the day.
Okay,
So-
so it's coming.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, probably maybe not the level that you're hoping for, but it's a start. And then we can kind of work even more closer together on that as like a subset to the operations plan,
Thank
you know,
you,
with
Jen.
Chris and his team.
But also, sorry, I'm gonna make one comment tonight, so I did see it. I mean, these are also good things that we can do now about what we're here at this center. You know, this is part of, I think, the COA's mission. And these are, you know, I think pretty much in that little blue book over there in a way. You know, these are things that we should be talking about as a COA. And so I can bring back to the staff and talk about, because you can help guide us.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Maybe that's
So
something.
one of the things that I didn't see in this or here is what are the underlying assumptions that you have as you build this plan? So for example, I think, and I may be misquoting you, Chris, but at the last meeting, I think I heard you say that one of your underlying assumptions that undergirds this plan is, I'm gonna get your words wrong and I'm sorry, but you talked about the fact that you had to start with what you have right now. So your staff, the hours, the way things do here, that's an assumption. That assumption feeds in to what you create. Are there any other assumptions, I'm wondering, that you were looking at? Have you gone back and looked again at the data that was presented in the reports about building recal, and have they fed into assumptions about what's the population that you're building this operation plan around? That's my question. I haven't heard any assumptions.
I mean, I think that the whole building and the whole, from a programmable standpoint and from what we're creating, is based on everything that we've learned in the process, through the feasibility study, through the design, through the public process, through town meeting, being on the town meeting floor, 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever it was. I think all of those things are all playing into this. So I think, to me, I don't think they're necessarily assumptions, but we're taking what we've learned and carrying it over. But certainly there's probably some things that we haven't thought of.
Do you mind, Jean, if I just make a clarification?
Okay.
So one of the things I want to say to that is, okay, so you learned a lot. It was an incredible process. If you sat through some of those meetings, it was. But in terms of an assumption going forward, I think it's really helpful to specifically articulate those. So for example, one of the things you might have learned in looking at the report is that the population that we refer to as seniors in Reading is a shifting population because it's bulging at the 60 to 70. So that's different than the population you may be serving right now. I don't, and that's a question that just floats in the back of my head. I don't even know if Chris is able to present a breakdown of the age of participants at the senior center, because I don't know what data we have available. That's separate. We don't need to talk about it. But an assumption moving forward would be, this is the population we will be serving. Is that different from our current one? That's what I would like to hear articulated more fully.
So I'm gonna kind of respond to that.
Go ahead.
You make a very good point. And I've said this before in the past over the handful of years, and that's the challenge that we have in EHS is, and this is something that I know I've always looked at and the staff always looks at too, is, you know, we're age 60 to 102 and 3. And we look at each parts of those. You know, we look at the bulging, we have the, growing population kind of coming in. And we're looking at that, we're keeping that in our mind, but we're also making sure we're looking at, you know, someone 60 is gonna probably wanna do something different than someone 70, 80, 90, and 100. And we're keeping all those ages in mind, including, and then this building will also allow us to go, you know, to 50 and, you know, so we are, and I've said that numerous times in the past. I know Marilyn's, I know Marilyn and Nancy have heard me say this, and I've said this publicly. What's that? And Jean, sorry.
That's okay.
You're on my side, and I
You
blindside.
always forget me.
But I
Chris,
think that's a great suggestion. Because we know the data for the community and the age breakdowns of our 60+ population, we found that. And I can give you guys all those numbers, but finding out specifically the age ranges and, what we currently serve now, based on what actually exists, that would probably be an interesting breakdown. And can be a part of our programming operations as like a intro. Saying, hey, here's how many seniors we currently serve. Here's the age breakdown of the, you know, we have 20 on a yearly basis that are 60 to 65 and whatever.
I can give you a breakdown.
So no, I think that's a great suggestion. I appreciate that.
Jean.
Just a quick suggestion. We mentioned operations. And in order to get that going, whether it's programs or rental, whatever, is there any way to include, not necessarily all, but include a few of COA members, possibly to sit, not necessarily in a regular meeting, but to meet and voice their suggestions on future programming that maybe right now we're not having or hosting, but after attending other centers, there are several that I hear people from here going there. So why not keep our residents in town, but maybe have a quick meeting and listen to various members who have suggestions of what they would like going forward. So that could help with the operations plan.
Yeah, and I think once we get to the spring and we give the community the presentation on that, that will be the next natural step, is to then bring them in, get their feedback. Newton has sent out several surveys to inquire about different programming within the community, from recreation all the way up to 60+. So gathering all that information from the community, but we have to give them something to look at to say, hey, here's what we're hoping to do. Here's all the programs. What are we missing?
I right now, I think recreation, I've used the rec several times and I still do. But my concern right now is the future new programs for the seniors.
Yeah, and we presented that at town meeting, and based on that sample programming schedule that we've been working on behind the scenes. And you could see based on that chart, I don't know the numbers offhand, but the number of 60+ programs that was increasing in the building was substantial, like over 50%. Because we're creating nighttime programs, we're creating evening programs, and you're creating simultaneous programs.
But will the council be involved in knowing what these programs are?
Yes, we're presenting them in November. Sample.
I'm sorry, let me just, I just wanna caution us. So, and again, I'm just thinking about this for this particular activity. Everything you're talking about in terms of input into other things in the future is great. The plan is intended to provide the structure and the framework for how all this gets done in some respects. I mean, the output of the plan isn't a list of all the programs that are gonna be run in the center. That is not the output of the plan. The output of the plan is the strategy and the approach for how that programming is gonna get done, so that you guys have input into it. And so that is what it is. It is not, I just wanna make sure it's clear, because I don't wanna mislead anybody at all into saying, oh, we're gonna write this plan, and when it's all done, it's done, and those are the list of the program. No, that's not it at all. So I just want to be clear about that. And then the other piece, just going back to the other point that was raised about, have we looked at other data and where are we? I mean, well, we did look at other centers before as part of ReCal. And we are gonna have constraints. There's no question about it. There are gonna be constraints on the financial side and on the things that's gonna input. And so that part of the planning process is to help us figure out what those constraints are and how they can be stretched to the best ability ever possible to meet some of the programming needs. But we are not in that plan gonna establish, here's the 25 programs that are gonna be done. Sorry, no, that is not the intent of the plan. Plan is to provide the structure for how you guys are gonna get to that point.
Yeah, and then to that point too, so we'll present the samples schedule and it could say, oh, we were gonna add Zumba on Monday and Wednesday nights and line dancing on Thursday. Well, people have to sign up. So we can try to run things, but they might not take off. So that impacts things too. Some programs could still be free, some programs could be charged, some program could be volunteer run. So there's a bunch of different nuances with the programming too, so.
I don't know if this study has been done, but one of the things that concerns me is with this building, which sounds like it's going to be very, very successful the way it's being outlined and very, very busy. One thing that concerns me is the traffic that's going to be going down there. I don't know, and maybe a study's already been done, but there's an existing facility down there that's pretty busy. That's the Burbank Hockey Rink. And there's going to also be another project that's going to be in that area that passed at town meeting, the Killam School. And there's also going to be the pickleball courts, which we have been advised are going to be pretty. I'm just curious about, if anyone looked at getting in and out of there. I've gone down there for some occasions. And maybe a lot of you have, but getting in and out of that is controlled by one light. And I just would be interested. I don't know if this is the proper spot to bring that up.
I can answer that, so
Sure.
in the feasibility study, there was a traffic engineer. And there is a write-up on the traffic plan, and it actually goes over each of the areas, like the Birch Meadow area, it went over the traffic here, and it went over at Simon's Way. But I think there's even gonna be more of a discussion on that on August 25th at CPDC. Because they're really the ones that go over the nitty-gritty details of the parking, the traffic flow, signage down at the building. So the architect will be at that meeting and we'll give more detail along with that traffic engineer, hopefully, and we could give you an update. But that's a great question. We have the same concerns. And internally, we're navigating where pickleball folks will park, and we're working hand in hand with Burbank to, come up with a marriage down there with, hey, when you have your hockey games in the winter at 6 p.m. or your skating competitions, you can use the ReCal parking lot from X time to X time if we could use our pickleball overflow parking in the back of your building. Obviously, it's town-owned land, but they're under a lease, so we're just trying to be respectful and work through those details behind the scenes. So hopefully we get more of those details ironed out within the next couple months. But we have the same concerns with traffic and the daycare there, and Emily's kids went to Little Treasures, right?
Sure did.
Oh, is that a separate house or something?
Yeah, right at the top.
Rosemary.
Oh, yeah. There's-
My kids went there.
My thoughts go to transportation. Is that being discussed?
I did
Yep.
see it listed.
Yep, we're discussing that in February. We have had preliminary conversations with several different companies that run shuttles. Some use GoGo Grandparent, which is kind of like an Uber subsidiary. We applied for a grant in June, but we didn't get it to run one of those pilot programs, but we're hoping that maybe we can take advantage of the mass transportation grant that's coming up to try to run a similar pilot program. Stoneham had a successful program that they just ran. So we were talking with our planning director, who's close with planning director over in Stoneham, that maybe there's some type of regionalization that could go on between our communities, running a shuttle type service for our community. So we are talking about that and it's in the works. So that's kind of why we pushed that discussion out till February to see if we can get some more details, but it's really being considered. I know right now, there doesn't seem to be an issue. We have our one van, we have another van that we could put on the road with another driver, but right now there's not. Yeah, no demand really. We have our medical transportation rides that are very popular as well, but once we go to the new center, we know more people are gonna come. We've seen the stats that things double, triple in participation, so we're looking into that.
You really don't know how many people are gonna drive themselves until we actually get there either.
Right. Yeah, a lot of the seniors that come here now drive.
Right now, most people that come here drive, but we do have
That's
some
what I
that
was gonna say,
take
until you get there,
transportation.
a lot of people I think are gonna drive.
Yeah.
Especially the younger senior citizens, they're gonna drive.
Might walk.
But this
You live that close.
this is why we're
I don't think I
preparing
want.
for it in advance. And like I think John made and Jenna, this is gonna be a dynamic process,
Yeah,
we could get there and everyone join. We get there, no one could join.
Nancy, did you?
I think a lot of people, I think a lot of
The
people are gonna
Jetsons.
drive.
Oh, yeah, I just had a thought about this group I know is very interested in programming, in participation, in types of opportunities. No, very interested in that, but what I heard John say was that's not going to really be discussed in detail as part of the operations plan. So John's got a big task in front of him because he's going to be facilitating discussions and he might have to say, that's not appropriate for this discussion. We're simply talking about operations. So we really need to adopt, John's attitude towards operations. But on the other hand, if the COA thinks that there's a hole in what we're discussing and we're not getting at something that needs to be discussed and brought up to the forefront, that needs to come up too. And that's something that, the town staff can be aware of. And there might have to be a few tangents, maybe after this is completed, but there might have to be a few tunnels underneath that in order to get the big picture formed. And Kathy kind of, talked about that too. So we want to think about it that we're doing the operations plan, but other things may arise from this. And we have to be open to those ideas and figure out how to address.
And I think you continuing to meet with us is key. And this, so to me, this sounded very preliminary. You just wanted to let us know what you're thinking, what the plan is for the future. So I'm thinking like one of the things is programming strategy is part of the operating plan. There is a lot that's listed under here. So we'll see. And again, we will make sure that our voice is heard and felt. But I think we want to see, once you continue to work on the program and the operations plan, the more specifics, we look forward to seeing how.
I think without a doubt, and we've had this conversation, that is the most critical part of the plan. That everybody wants to see and recognizes that it impacts what the center is gonna look like to everybody. But in the meantime, you guys are doing programs now. You're identifying things that you need. By all means, we want to hear that because as part of, if any of that impacts the way the strategy and approach to figuring program out is impacted, then certainly we want to accommodate that. But I don't see it as mutually exclusive.
And one thing I do wonder is, you talk about competing interests, and I do wonder if it would be helpful if you had a joint meeting between the COA and the recreation committee when you're presenting one of your plans, maybe in November or something. Because I think one of the big differences for us as a 60, representing the 60. Point you brought up, Rosemary, which is not so much a pressing issue for recreation, but it's the combating loneliness and isolation, which is unique to, the meeting the needs of the 60 plus population. So, and they may have points that they're bringing up that we aren't considering. So I wonder if a joint meeting would be helpful.
And I think
Yep.
too, like, there's a lot that the 60 plus have in common with younger folks too, because even just learning about loneliness and isolation and reading the Surgeon General's report, they say like one of the biggest populations is the male in like their early 20s or something like that. I think it was the statistic. So a lot of people are feeling loneliness and isolation, and I think that's the great thing about this building is that it's gonna give all ages the opportunity to come out and use this and feel like they're part of the community.
Somewhat as a tangent to what you just said, Karen, and I don't mean to hark back to our last meeting and the very lengthy discussion we had there. But I'm somewhat intrigued and confused by the fact that in the group that you put together, you specifically mentioned bringing Emily on for her experience and background with recreation. And why not bring someone similar, an experience and background from the Council of Aging? So the same kind of idea that Karen's talking about, but in microcosm for the planning, not just for the presentation.
Sure, so Emily is not an existing member of the Recreation Committee, so
No, I
that's.
know that, but you
yeah.
brought her on, you said specifically because of her long experience with recreation.
But we thought that John Sasso reaching out, since he's been intimately involved with ReCal for the past 3 years, learning all about all of the different centers, learning about the Council on Agings and the different communities. I mean, you pretty much like put together the whole entire ReCal report with the help of some of the members. Like, I just think that he was a good representation of this board without being an actual committee member, which was what we were trying to prevent. Just because there's so many different opinions, and when you're on a committee, you should be speaking as a voice and speaking in these meetings together collectively, and people shouldn't be in silos, like behind the scenes. And this is really a staff-driven operational plan. Like, a lot of this work has really been done by like the staff, and we bring them in for like their opinion. And John's really great at putting things together. So that's kind of how we saw it. We wanted it to be people who knew the history and a lot of details about each of the committees, but not be actual committee members. That way we don't get into open meeting law and all of that as well.
Marilyn was next.
No,
Short, and I'm just reiterating a theme I brought up before, we'll probably continue to. I don't care personally whether it's a Council on Aging person per se, but given that the priority is seniors, I would like to see people over the age of 60 actively involved in the integral development of what's going on. And I see nothing still.
Well, that's not true, because our staff meets monthly on this plan, and several of our staff are over 60, yes. Anna, well, I don't think I should be calling people out. But
Most of my staff is over 60.
there's 3+.
But we don't have any non-working over 60s then, we don't have any retirees and nothing. We do not have samples of any major subdivision of the over 60, and to your point, it's not that we're a blob, that, oh, that's what over 60 looks like, and different at this age and this age and this age and all these circumstances. I'm just raising it again, we're supposed to be the priority and, so, Jean.
Jean, the agents.
I know everything, and I think operations is important going forward. I'm very happy and excited. We're at the stage in this town, what we're doing for this project. I mean, it's 30 years, some odd, overdue. But the Council on Aging has been involved for about 4 some odd years now with this particular project, from a video, from hosting forums to let the residents know, from showing out all of the preliminary architectural designs. So I can see wanting someone at the table representing the Council on Aging as the elders advocate. That's just my opinion.
I absolutely agree that we should have an advocate, but we should not forget that we're very fortunate. We've got a very good staff here right now.
Exactly.
And you know, I've been on the council for 11 years, so I've seen a lot of staff, I've seen a lot of councils, how they work. This staff is really, really good, and I think we should rely heavily on a lot of their opinions. Not just Chris, but you know, their name, but some of those people, there's one person who's been around for a long time, and they know what the input is. And I think their input is the most important.
Oh, I agree, John, but I think there are sometimes, I think as a group in the past several months, we've felt that we didn't know what was happening. That's just my opinion. And like I said, I'm all for this project. I think this site with the direction that's going in is phenomenal. All the I'll say clients or the participants that come here are very excited. But the growth, I feel, is going to be far more than we're anticipating when we have a new building.
So I appreciate all the conversation and I really appreciate the presentation. I think you're hearing our concern. As always, we want to ensure that our voice is heard. I'm not sure that one representative really can represent all of the points of view. And so I think your willingness to continue to come every meeting and maybe we can devote more time in the future as well, because we do want to make sure that our voices are heard. And so in the meantime, Chris and your staff, you do have to represent as well. And we can all, but we absolutely need one voice. I do some, you know, I somewhat agree with you, but I do think who on this COA really represents the voice of the soul. And it is.
No, I don't think it's any one person.
It is collective.
Yeah.
And I do think all of us need to be heard. So, please hear us and, hear our concerns, hear our voice, and we look forward to continuing to work with you. And thank you for this presentation tonight, and look forward to, what you present in October. And, I do hope that we do get a joint meeting as well. So I think, I do hope everybody did get heard.
No, I just wondered if there was already material that was developed that perhaps can be sent out to the Council on Aging, so we can begin to review what's already been done. I mean, the table of contents was there, so are 5 of those chapters done? Are all of those chapters done? One of those chapters done?
So you're looking
And-
for a status update?
Yeah, and just to, so that we don't fall behind. Especially if there are pieces of it already done, that we can just take a look at. We don't have to discuss it. We can wait to the time that we need to discuss it, but we all have busy schedules. We have some time, especially, you know, I know you guys have been working on it for several months. So.
And I think that's our next step, is we will be presenting kind of where we are in this process, as Jenna mentioned, and you saw the schedule. We're gonna go through that in more detail. We're gonna come back to you guys with each one of these with questions. So this isn't just about here it is, it's gonna be here it is, and here's some questions that we still have. These are open discussions continuing. So hopefully that will, you know, engage everybody, because that's really what we want. In terms of a status, we have some stuff that's been drafted, but nothing is really ready for prime time at the moment, which is why we wanted to at least have this conversation first. But we do have a lot of stuff, as Jenna and Chris mentioned, that we've solicited from other communities and things that are being used now. So we'll probably start with those.
John, that's one of the things I worry about. if you all are waiting for prime time, I think that's an issue.
Yeah, no, maybe that's a
So
poor choice of
I-
words, but I
Yeah.
mean, something
So I-
ready, I don't wanna show you something until we actually have had a chance to go through it and actually come up with questions and because that's really what this is about, is we wanna solicit good input from you, but we have to have a better understanding, make sure we know what it is we're putting in out there as well, and we haven't done all that yet. I mean, the perspective of that list, I mean, it is a list right now, there are some pieces behind it, yes, but we haven't gone to that next step yet, and you gotta give us the opportunity to do that first, and then put it back in front of you, and I think, Jenna, the intent is to present it in advance, so people have a chance to look at it before the meetings. So it's not like we're just gonna present it and say here and give you 5 minutes in the meeting, we wanna get it out in advance for you to do that, so.
Yeah, definitely, and a lot of this, everything that we present to, we work with the staff too, so we're having monthly staff meetings. We're figuring all this out as a team.
Meetings, you mean the COA staff?
Yeah, yep, all elder and human services, recreation and veterans, all the staff is meeting once a month. And going over everything. So now, next month, we're gonna actually be meeting with a new software platform just to explore it. To see if it might work better for all of us as a whole. But we're still talking, do we have two systems? Do we have one system? How it's gonna work. So we're exploring, and then we'll have to have another meeting to go over all of our existing forms that we have. Our standards of independence, our property tax workers. So all of those things, and seeing how we can fine tune them, and a lot of the other centers have really amped up transportation program policies and emergency contacts, and so we're throwing those in, and then the staff's going over them first. And then we bring in Emily and John, and then we all talk, and then we'll send them out. So we'll probably send out those forms probably mid-September, if I had to guess. And we can send out the existing ones now that we already have,
So
like the participation forms, the property tax worker forms, all the existing ones.
Okay, great, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. See you in October. All right, so now we can go.
John?
We can go, we're not done.
I know.
No, we need things out of the way. So the COA annual conference, Fred?
Yep, so the COA annual conference that happens every fall, it's coming up October 22nd through the 24th. This year it's down in Falmouth. Typically, I usually go, I know Jenna typically goes, staff from this center here can go as well. It's a nice conference. It's most people just like from here go like for one day, drive down for a day. But in the past, Nancy's gone, Marilyn's gone. Yeah, so a whole group of us have gone. So usually anyone from the COA, if you wanna, I just looked a few minutes ago at the beginning of tonight's meeting. They don't have the booklet out yet. So they usually publish the what's going on each day. Friday's usually half a day. There's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday's, I believe a half a day, full day on Wednesday, and kind of a little bit kind of a full shorter day on Wednesday. So it's a good conference, great presentations. Kind of good thing to take a look at their booklet and see what's going on. Hopefully it'll come out soon, so you can kind of take a look at all the topics going on.
So is that a statewide?
Yep, it's a statewide, all the council on, well, I want to say council on agents, but mostly it's the senior centers, like directors, program staff, and the staff from the different centers across this state.
And just to piggyback on what Chris is saying, in my previous corporate life, I went to a lot of different conferences, and some were good and some were bad, but I went to the COA conference a couple of years ago, and it was fantastic. I couldn't believe how well it was run. So anybody has a chance to go ahead and go.
I second that.
What's that?
Items to expend money from the trust funds.
Yeah, I just.
What's that?
Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
put on the trust funds,
So,
right, so
yep.
whoever wants to go.
So usually what we do is if you're interested, please let us know. We'll take all the names so we can see how much it'll cost and then we'll have to bring it to the next meeting. And vote on it to get those funds to pay for it. So
They let us share tickets essentially, so if somebody wants to go for one day and someone else the other day, I think that they support doing stuff like that.
So I did
Or we don't
add
know.
it on just so people are aware of this and it's in October. So keep in mind if you're interested in voting, we'll take a vote in the next meeting. To spend the funds if there's interest. Okay, and the next item is the PBC update with Nancy. How are you?
Short brief. So our last meeting was on the sixth. For those of you that don't know, I'm the PBC representative from the COA as part of the whole building project. So some of these, I would highly encourage, if you haven't watched it, because they're all streamed, please watch it, because it is it's interesting, some of the things that are talked about. But please watch it, and then the minutes are posted after the next meeting, once they've been approved. So you'll be able to go out and find the minutes and do that. So usually part of the meeting is approving invoices. That's interesting because the invoices are right there and it kind of describes the work done. So if you're interested in that piece of it, you're going to get a little bit of how the money is being spent. There's usually an BHA design update, which is the architecture. And two things come to mind that happened recently. One, if you can picture the layout of the building, and this is Simon's Road right here. This corner of it that runs along Simon's Road actually had to be bumped out a little bit. There were some mechanical issues and the good thing is it made our kitchen larger. It gave us about 50 square feet additional to the kitchen. So that was pretty kind of cool. And so things like that will come up. They did form a committee of 3 people that are going to oversee or review on a monthly basis all of the invoices that come in.
Just recount,
Well, yes.
okay.
Yes.
Did that bump out increase the cost?
No, it
They
didn't.
have to stay within.
It did not.
What?
They have to stay within what the town
Yeah.
voted.
Yeah, it did not. Tierney, and Heaney, and what's the middle one? Turner, thank you. Usually do a budget and a schedule update. And they ended their presentation by saying the budget was on track. We're not over. We're still within the town's budget. And they also track the schedule. So one of the things that I notice is that I think it's January 26 when they're supposed to break ground over there on Simon's Way. And so one of the things that they do is they track that, and that might have to be moved up. It's not definite, but it might have to be moved up to February, I think is what I read. So it's interesting to read it. Since this is a project we're all involved in, I'm sure we're all interested. Right? The other thing that we talked about was our list of 27 design updates. Way back when we had to review the architectural plans, there were a number of suggestions that needed to be added. 27 of the updates had been addressed, and there are 3 updates that are still outstanding. One of them is flooring, because right now, there's like 3 or 4 different rooms with all different kind of flooring. And our question was, do we really need all that kind of flooring? Or does it make our rooms more flexible for different kinds of programs? So Joel, our architect, is supposed to have that information. I haven't received it. There was also a meeting for kitchen design. Both Karen and I went to that. It was very interesting. I don't know if there's gonna be a second meeting or not, but it's got an induction stove and oven, which we got all electric, so everything's electric. And if anybody wants to see it, I don't know if I'm clean, I'll get it. Clean. I can make a copy and email it out to anybody. To see the kitchen. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Cool. One of the things that I spoke out at that meeting was I really wanted to be able to use that kitchen for on-site cooking purposes. And there was limited reception to that. So I don't know if that went through or not, but it's too bad if it doesn't go through, because cooking classes are very popular.
That's worried about the liability.
No,
You don't think so?
well, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm not a kitchen expert.
But one of the things, Nancy, is they did listen to,
Yeah,
like Chris especially brought up about the location of the coffee
yeah,
area, so they did move and they did respond to the
Yes.
feedback that they were getting
Yeah.
at that kitchen meeting that Chris, you and I attended. Were you there?
Yes.
And, yeah,
yeah.
they did respond and
Yeah.
they did make some changes, which was good.
Mhm. There's also happening right now a technical review of all the design drawings that were done. They're all now updated. And so there's a group of people that are reviewing the drawings to make sure that we don't miss anything. And also they're also sending those drawings out for another estimate. So by the end of this month, we should have another estimate, which then in turn makes sure that we're staying within budget. One thing I wanted to say, and I know that John's mind, but I think that the Council on Aging should be complimented. We had a pretty raucous meeting last time when we were talking about objectives. And it's so funny because I tried to go listen to it and it's like, everybody's talking over everybody else. But I did get the gist of it. And we passed 2 very important motions. One was that the Council on Aging endorses a dedicated specific space as outlined on slide 13 of the presentation, and it goes on, it's in the minutes. So basically it's kind of like that senior hub concept. I mean, we said, yes, we support that, we want that. And then the second thing, the second motion had to do with requesting the opportunity to participate in the operation planning. And kudos to the town for bringing that opportunity to us at this meeting. So very much appreciated. So, and I think the details will work out as we move forward, and if people see things that they would like to see happen, talk to Karen. So that's it.
Thank you very much, Nancy. When's the next PPT meeting?
September
Is it the second?
third.
Oh, is it the first Wednesday of the month?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
first Wednesday of the month, September third, if anyone does want to attend
Yeah.
in person or virtually. And then the CBTC meeting is next week, that's also looking at this, and then also the Conservation Commission meetings. So they're all addressing and reach out, there's a lot that's happening that needs to be improved, so thank you for keeping us updated.
Would it be helpful as part of this group, like if I send out the calendar with the,
Yeah, that's good.
okay.
I don't mind sending it.
Oh,
Want me to
okay.
send it in the
Oh, yeah.
updated kitchen design?
Yes,
Oh,
please.
Chris or I?
Yes.
Yeah, that way you don't have to.
Oh, perfect. Thank you,
Thank you,
Jenna.
that would be great.
We have it all at our hands, right? Right at our fingertips.
Okay, future agenda items. So I'll make sure if anybody has anything they would like to bring up, that
I
is
do.
addressed on the agenda. and
A quick
meetings.
item, is there any way where we have new members that we could clarify, the conflict of interest, because
Laura Chen, did Laura reach out to you with the conflict of interest information as the members?
Training? No, we didn't get training, we got all the information on,
It's all.
We had a sign.
yeah, and I mean,
So Laura-
there was a
Laura
whole
makes it.
presentation and everything,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
required by
Oh, that's
law,
right.
by Massachusetts
Yeah.
law.
Yeah, there was a presentation, it was like a video.
Yeah, okay.
I worked.
So see, there you go. Okay, any other items that you want to see added? Okay, otherwise Chris and I, or you can always reach me outside of the meeting, or reach Chris. Okay.
John?
Motion to adjourn.
we have to tell them.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Aye.
Thank you all, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That would have helped.
What's the name of the meeting?